So, my name is Martha. I'm a relationship counselor and clinical sexologist. I just finished a workshop, and since I'm all dressed up, I thought I will make this video. I have been thinking of making this video since yesterday, and this is something that has been reported, and now they've gone to court. And the article in question is accused SMU molestation case. Accused repeatedly said he had consent of alleged victim. And this one is yesterday, and this one is today. So I'm gonna read it because I'm really upset about it actually, and I haven't rehearsed this or anything. So it says that this SMU student is accused of molesting a girl during an overnight study session on campus. He didn't think she meant it when she said stop. Like, how dare you? When someone says stop, you just stop. Like, why do you not take this person seriously? Like, why? So apparently what happened was, then he says, what happened in the early hours of January 8 2 years ago. So imagine now going to court and being re-traumatized. So he's accused of using criminal force on the victim 22 by rubbing his exposed private parts against her chest, intending to outrage her modesty in the study room. Okay, when she said stop to me, it was in a very jestful manner. I believe she wanted me to carry on because throughout the night, she was getting more comfortable with me. That was this coy behavior from her. To me, her stop didn't actually mean a stop. Okay, and he claims that if she didn't really mean what she said and didn't want him to proceed, she could have pushed him away or shouted for help. Okay, this was in the early hours of the morning. If she shouted for help, who can she call out to? And shouting for help and not pushing away doesn't mean that it's consent, because there is such a thing as fight, flight, or freeze. There are people who actually freeze when they're overwhelmed. And this is a man on top of a woman rubbing the genitals on this person who, according to a report, was sleeping. So if you're sleeping, you are like already it's early hours of the day. So this person is tired, and being a woman, you know that you are not as strong as the person who is on top of you. So sometimes we might be saying it in a jestful way, like in a nice way, because we are actually deep down, we are scared. So what we are feeling and what we're actually doing can be different, because there is such a thing called fight, flight, or freeze. And a lot of people freeze, including myself. So what happened at 6:30, leading up to the incident, which occurred around 6:30 a.m., rested the feet on the woman's thighs, tickled her, tried to kiss her, repeatedly touched her breast over her bra, and exposed himself to her, but repeatedly said he thought she was fine. So she responded, you, as she took it being just because of her tone. Somebody, my friend, asked just now, like, why didn't she leave? You are at somebody's place and they have access to the door. So sometimes when you are feeling trapped, you may want to de-escalate the situation, and you just want to be safe. And there's such a thing called freeze. So the shaming that is happening in the comments that is on social media is really, really horrific. There is blame and shaming of the girl. And I really am like very upset by this. Okay, so let me continue to read. So in one incident, so this is like an onslaught of attack the whole night. In one incident, so she said you, and then she put down his shorts, exposed his genitals to him, making contact with her thigh. The two of them took a nap, adding that he was glad to see she had not left after he woke up. I don't know whether this person knew how to leave, because this was not her campus, this was his campus, and there's no mention whether she knew how to leave, whether the door was locked. He touched her left breast with both his hands to wake her up, exposed his, and then rubbed his exposed private parts against her chest. The woman said stop, but he said a while more. So it's like, at which part of, first of all, the person said stop, you didn't stop. Then the next thing is you said a while more. Like, what gives you the right to think that just because you started to do your rubbing, your masturbation onto somebody else's body, that it's all about you and you getting to come? The person didn't respond because I guess she's like resigned to, like, as long as I don't have to fight him off, like just let him do what he wants and I'll get out of this place. So he continued rubbing my exposed private parts across her chest, adding that the entire incident took place in under 10 seconds. Okay, as she was leaving, she said, imagine how disappointed your parents will be when they receive it. Your future is gone, meaning the lawyer letter. Lee, the SMU student, was shocked to hear this because he believed the act was consensual. At no point did this person actually ask, is it okay? Can I? He just kind of did it, just assume that silence is consent. Silence is not consent. And then first this person was shocked and then just continued apologizing because he didn't want to get into any trouble. And the trial continues. So this was yesterday's papers, and I'm just like trying to summarize. So I mean, I already kind of read it, but I'm just like reading it again. Okay, so on this ongoing trial, this person now continues to under cross-examination by DPP Deputy Public Prosecutor Andre Chong. So I'm just going to say DPP. Said, through this whole time, I thought it was mutual and there was consent between both parties, attributed to mood and environment. And this was 6:30 in the morning. This person has been tortured. Okay. I know I'm using my interpretation. Imagine somebody just wouldn't leave you physically alone. You go over at 1:30 a.m. and this is 6:30 a.m. You barely had any sleep. And you probably went over thinking you were study, and this person wouldn't stop touching you. And maybe you thought you guys will hang out. Okay, there was no agreement that you will do any of these hanky-panky, whatever you want to call it, touch, set up the mood and the environment. Oh, you weren't there. Only two of us were there. Only two of us know how we were getting more and more intimate. So this person basically was badgering and wouldn't stop. Okay, who was touching who? Who was touching who? Was she touching him? There's nothing to say that she was like really participating. And even then, like, at what point did she give consent that you can rub your genitals on her chest and come on her? Like, at what point did she actually say that you can do that? You don't just do things to someone and then just say, oh, I thought you agreed. Like, you did it already. You already did it. And then DPP started the cross-examination. If I wanted to do something to you, but I didn't get your consent, does it mean that it's your job to say no? Yes, it will be my job to say no. What if the person is not capable of giving consent because the person is half asleep? The person was woken up with this person on top of her chest. When asked if she thought there was only way to be certain when someone consents is to ask question, Lee said it depends on the environment, place, environment, and setting. I'm sorry, Lee. It's not true. It's not true. If you want to be clear as a communicator, you have to ask. You don't just assume, oh, I created a mood, therefore I can just kind of like, no, don't do that. Don't assume, okay? Assumption will make an ass out of you. That's the saying, right? Assumption will make an ass out of you and me. Yeah, that's this saying, right? Several statements made by Lee in his evidence were fabricated since they were not put to the alleged victim when she was being cross-examined, or that they were missing from his original. So, just like conveniently, just suddenly thought of like new things to add, because I can tell you, when they ask you to do your statement, the original statement, they actually interview you first, get all the facts, and write a very, very, very detailed report. So you on hindsight, you want to add things. This just makes your credibility really dodgy. It affects it just sounds dodgy. Okay, so then the statements include that the woman had said that she trusted Lee when she changed in the room, she placed his feet on her thighs, and that she had asked her what would happen if he did her. Lee denied that the statements were fabricated and maintained they were true. He added all these. So this DPP said exactly what I'm saying. DPP Chong added that, DPP Chong argued that she would have just woken up and would have been disorientated and unable to consent. How can a sleeping person consent? How can a drunk person consent? They cannot. And when she finally came to her senses, she said, stop. When you said stop, why didn't you stop? There's no way I could have replicated that tone because I'm not her. I'm not in the environment now. I don't care what tone. When somebody says stop and you have a doubt, even if you have a smallest doubt that they're not okay, you should stop. You should stop. Like, what gives you the rights? What and to say what? A while more. So when the person is not comfortable, a while more means you get what you want, you take what you want, and you violate this person, and it's okay because it's all about you and all about you coming. Is that right? And then Lee said, if she started shop or since her hands were free and she pushed me hard, it was just the point. Her stop didn't mean stop. So what part of stop do you not understand? The truth is, Mr. Lee, there's nothing she could have said to get you to stop. It's true because you actually said a while more, because you actually already exposed yourself. You're on the verge of coming, which you did in less than 10 seconds. And so this is very, very frustrating for me to read all this, because the people online and even my friends are saying she shouldn't have gone over in the first place. Like, if she's a decent girl, she shouldn't have gone over. The reality is, young people do what young people do. She probably wanted to cuddle, and it's irrelevant whether she has a boyfriend. It's irrelevant that she didn't tell him she had a boyfriend. It's irrelevant because maybe she just wanted to study, genuinely wanted to study. Maybe she wanted to hang out and get some male attention. Maybe she was open to certain things like cuddling. Maybe she was open to him putting his feet on her thighs, maybe. But did he actually ask her, can I come on you? Did he actually ask her? He did not ask her because he assumes that the mood and environment was conducive to it. Like, it is just very, very, very frustrating to think that he can be entitled to doing all these things to someone just because the mood and the environment. Like, this just sounds so pickup artist to me. This just sounds so pickup artist that you will just worm your way into getting what you want because you are entitled, because you know how to create this, and so you manipulate someone to get what you want. You take something from them and now you want to lie about it and say that and fabricate stuff that was not in your original statement. Like, there's so much shaming of the woman. And it's so brave of her to do something about it. I know I'm leaning towards the woman. And I know that they're still having the court hearing. And I know that I was not in the room. And yet I just feel so frustrated for her because something happened to her that made her feel violated. And I know this is like not rape. It was not rape because he just basically ejaculated on her without consent. It is not rape, but it is not acceptable. And it is a sign of like what is happening in our society right now, which is like people thinking they can just do things to people because they feel like it. Essentially, all the upskirt videos, the dick pics, the stalking, like it is really not it is really very and like upsetting, like the telegrams that's happening in Singapore. Like this is like really like so dangerous and upsetting to be a woman, a young woman born during these times. And it's very upsetting to read all this and to feel that he actually thinks he's right. Like he actually thinks that I do, you come over, you're asking for it. I created a mood, so you wanted it. You didn't ask. You didn't ask. You don't go into somebody's house and take their things. You don't do things to people that could hurt them. Oh my god, like I'm it's really upsetting for me as a woman to read this, okay? And I know I'm rambling, and I at 24, at 22, um do you think that they have had sex education? Do you think that they have had anybody teach them about consent? Do you think that they have had any education around like consent needs to be explicit, like silence is no? Did they have any of that? And here they are in court, and him arguing that it was okay, and probably him saying it's not a big deal. I didn't rape this person. I just rub against this person. Like, what's the big deal? He's probably thinking that, and it's very upsetting, and very triggering, as a woman, to have that, to read all this. Friends saying, yeah, she should have lived. Why shouldn't she leave? Because it's early in the morning, and there's no bus until 5:30. There's no bus in Singapore. If you are a young person who doesn't have much money, do you want to get a cab? And who is going to pay for the cab? If she goes back home, how is she going to get into the house? Like these are things. It's like I'm out already. I might as well stay out. And if he's not doing so much harm to me, I might as well just put up with it. And just because she consent to certain acts, it doesn't mean that she consent to all the acts that happened that day. And people who say she shouldn't have stayed out late, like it really depends on the autonomy that she has in her life. And maybe her parents really wanted her to, because she had a busy days and students are busy, that she genuinely wanted to study, and we don't know these facts. And I really feel for the both of them, not just this Lee who committed this offense. I feel for both of them, because this could have been avoided if we had more sexuality education as a society, if we actually learned that it is really important to stop when someone says stop, and to not continue if you're in doubt, and if you're going to do something that is more explicit, to actually, including like exposing your private parts, to actually say this and check in with the person verbally, and not assume just because you think that you created the mood and the environment. I feel very sad for the state of what things are in Singapore, and I wish that we have a lot more sexuality education. And a big part of why I feel all this is happening in Singapore is because this is just not happening. Sexuality education is very, very limited, and as young people who are told to just shut up and just study, you may have the IQ, you may not have the EQ, and they are not intellectually challenged, because they are both in universities, I think. but there are people on the autism spectrum who really do need a lot more explicit communication. And as a society, if we are not giving enough education around sexuality, especially around consent, what more our other friends who have other challenges, like being on the autism spectrum. And I feel that it needs to be across the board. As a society in Singapore, sex is not talked about in positive ways. It's always talked about in very negative ways. And the only times we read about sexuality in the papers are always in negative ways. And now they want to catch up and talk about all the laws and all the committees, when in reality, this is what the can of worms will this is like a can of worms being opened up, because it's always been there, because we don't talk about sex, the kind of reports, the kind of languaging that we have about it is always really very negative. And the burden on young women to just look pretty and to be sexualized constantly on social media and to be objectified, and for them to keep getting away with it, like this is just like a gateway for like them to feel that they can do more things. And I wish that a lot of beautiful young men out there, if they had known more, and be more conscious. And I think a lot of the media that we consume of this and that trick and strategy to get this person to do something, is just really, really harmful. And because they are not getting alternative languaging, they think that that is acceptable. They are being influenced by the movies that they watch, and the Korean drama, and the this and that drama serial. They actually think that this is what it is. However, movies and TV dramas, they aren't there to depict what conscious communication feels like, and it actually doesn't look as sexy as it looks on media. So the right way to connect with people is often seen as the boring way or the not sexy way, but actually it is the totally legitimate way of being respectful to someone. I am very upset by this, and I wish people would stop shaming the victim. I wish they would just stop doing that, because you are not there. And I feel that DPP actually raised some really good points, which I would have raised. The only thing is not saying about fight, flight, freeze, and how we are different, and consent to this doesn't mean consent to that, and it's not there. I don't know what the sentence would be. However, I really feel that this SMU student Lee could benefit from some training in consensual communication. And I wish for the state of Singapore that we have more communication around consent. And it shouldn't be just a compulsory module in university. Like, it's a bit too late to get to them when they are being told, like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, because this is what we get our whole lives as Asian students. I feel it needs to be much younger. You don't go into someone's house and take their things without permission. You don't touch strangers. If the person only got to know you recently, like, don't think the more time you spend with the person, you can just kind of like escalate to the next level very quickly, without clear, explicit consent. I know I'm rambling, but I'm a little bit all over the place because I am upset, and I I wonder about why is it like all these crimes are being committed by men, and what they are feeding their brains, and the lack of education. As a woman, I have had many times that I felt pressurized and disregarded, even when I said no, and it has really made me very angry and unsafe with men. And I wish they didn't think that we are speaking as a game. Maybe they have had people in their lives who think like no is yes, yes is no, and it's funny. It's not funny when you are the weaker gender. It's not funny when you feel trapped. You are in a room. It's not funny when you don't have money to take cab home. It's not funny when you are afraid that you don't have enough strength to push the person off. It's not funny when you have to live with the consequences of flashbacks and nightmares, and feeling unsafe in this world, and being afraid of what your next interaction with men is going to be. It's not funny when you hate being born, and you hate being born a woman. When women hurt and women suffer, all of us suffer. And I wish men would leave people that they meet just that little bit better. Like you leave a place just that little bit better. You give a tip, you clean up after yourself if you've had meal in like a canteen. Like if each of us just took responsibility for what we did and what we consume and what we did to one another, like the world will be a better place. Sure, it does take more effort. However, we are all part of the world, and I wish like we can all see ourselves as part of the solution, rather than be part of the problem, and just take and take and take, whether it's from the environment, whether it's from like people around us, people who provide us a service, like to even do the decent thing and just say thank you. Like you go on a date with someone, like you don't end up hurting them and traumatizing them and leaving them in the worst state, so that they have like a bad feeling of men, and they start to hate men. And sometimes we do that. We do generalizations like, oh, men are like this because this one person did this to me. So imagine 2 years on, that this 22-year-old is now in court, and like having to like relive everything and to repeat everything, and this person actually like thinks it's funny to just like make up stories in court and just like say something else, so that he looks like better, like it's not a game. It's not funny, to have to like speak up and to have to go through this kind of humiliation is also not easy for this alleged victim. Yeah, so that's what I have to say. I know I've been rambling for some time. Yeah, it's I think I'm not doing a good job in saying all this. It's really not easy to be a woman in modern days, to be honest with you. It's often very, very, very frustrating when you have people second guessing you